Thank you for joining us for today's Holiday Fraud Town Hall, presented in partnership with the Advocate. I'm Denise Botcher, State Director for AARP Louisiana. As we head into the holiday season, it's one of the busiest and riskiest times of the year for scams. Criminals are getting more sophisticated, targeting people of all ages right here in Baton Rouge with fake shopping deals, charity scams, and those convincing phone and text messages that can catch anyone off guard. At AARP, we're committed to helping you protect what you've worked hard for. Through the AARP Fraud Watch Network, we offer free resources, education, and support to help you spot scams before they happen and know what to do if it happens. Today, you'll hear from trusted experts and get practical tips to keep you and your loved ones safe this holiday season. Together, we can fight fraud and build a safer community. From all of us at AARP Louisiana, we wish you a happy and scam-free holiday season.
Welcome. I'm Kim Holden for The Advocate, and today's broadcast is brought to you by AARP. Our goal today is very simple: to protect our seniors from a high-tech wave of financial fraud. It is running rampant. Scammers are now using artificial intelligence, or AI, to make their attacks more personal and much more believable. Scammers are using AI-cloned voices that sound exactly like a grandchild in distress. It means perfect, personalized emails with no spelling errors. Our focus today is to give you some clear, actionable facts to be able to spot these threats. So first, I want to start with our panel of experts and introduce you Lieutenant Kevin Chenier from the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, who will cover the local impact. We've also got Special Agent Ariffa Perinon from the FBI Baton Rouge office, who will provide the national perspective on tracking these crimes, and Dr. Vadrevu, an assistant professor at LSU's College of Computer Science and Engineering. He's an expert on AI and will explain the technology behind these scams. A lot of information coming at you today. We want to thank you all for being here. So let's go ahead and get straight to it. I want to start with the big picture and the law enforcement part of this. So Lieutenant Chenier and Special Agent Perinon, what are the most common scams that you see targeting seniors right now, before we even add in the AI part of that?
The most common ones we see typically involve telephone type scams. That can be, your grandparent, kid in jail type scams, jury duty scams, impersonating law enforcement, the texting, smishing type scams. And then that would be followed by, the computer related scams. People are at home on a computer. They get that dreaded little pop up that there's something wrong with their computer. And of course, it's got a nice little number, call here to fix it. They call the number, and unfortunately, it's a scammer who was able to basically talk the person into giving them access to their computer. And then once they're inside the computer, it's pretty much a free game after that.
Special Agent Perinon?
On the FBI side, we've been seeing a rise on romance scams, investment fraud scams, which typically go hand in hand with romance scams, retirement, where they're retirement scams, where the scammers are promising a higher return on the retirement fees. Just within the last year, we're seeing a rise on toll scams, where you're receiving texts saying you owe a certain amount of money on tolls. But the biggest rise has been the romance and investment fraud, especially with the elderly population.
And again, this is before we even get to
the
AI scams that we're going to talk about today. Lieutenant, how bad is the problem in East Baton Rouge? Are the reports here going up?
Surprising to say, we actually have fewer calls for service or reports this year than we did same time last year. Knock on wood. We still got a few more to go, but I'd say this is not a significant drop, but it is a trend more downwards now. Just maybe because more people are more aware of the type of scan stuff going on. I would like to think so.
Does it usually increase during the holidays?
Unfortunately, yeah, because that's when people are trying to move around, get around. They're distracted. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of money changing hands, and people will tend to be more prone to, going online, using the computer, doing things like that. So it opens the door for more opportunities, unfortunately.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the actual threat. And Dr. Vadrevu, let's start with you as an AI expert. Can you really define the threat? What is an AI scam from a technical standpoint? How is this different?
So my expertise in AI deals with its intersection with cybersecurity. I focus on cybersecurity focused AI threats, I believe. So in that sense, when it comes to AI based scams, what could happen is it increases the scalability of the scams a lot more, because like what was before a manual one person job, like would require one person to, have a 1 hour conversation to make a tech support scam. For example, that's what prior research said. A tech support scam call lasts maybe 45 minutes or an hour. But now if this is completely automated, AI based, there's no human factor as far as the scammer is concerned. And that, greatly increases how much, the damage can be done. Because now the cost is very, very small for the attackers. So they could target a lot more people.
Okay. And from the FBI standpoint, how do you see these AI tools changing the game for criminals?
Criminals, they're using the AI tools as a force multiplier. It's sort of giving them superpowers. They're able to send emails within seconds. They're able to polish their voices. They're able to change and make the data look as realistic as it can get, which on the intern, make you think that it's true or it's real. It's a force multiplier. It's faster. It's more polished.
Okay, Dr. Vadrevu, the grandparent scam. Now, we've heard a lot about grandparents being targeted, and that's a major fear. How easy is that to really clone somebody's voice? And I guess how much audio does a scammer actually need from a person to be able to do that?
I think the answer would be surprisingly small. Like if we were to do a user study and ask people, the technology is such that many people would still be very surprised. Because it requires very little amount of audio for someone to be able to clone perfectly other person's voice. And that's what really scares me the most about these scams, because from my knowledge, the conversation itself might be very difficult for a scammer to do. Because it requires a lot of social engineering. Like you are sort of like need to convince the other person to maybe make a bank transfer or whatnot. It requires a lot of tactics that maybe the current AI is not yet there. However, cloning voice is probably something that's very much within the realms of reach for current AI technology. And maybe 30-second audio would be good enough for, for AI to be able to clone. And we've seen products online. We've tried some out, and they seem to work pretty good.
So where would they get the audio from? So give me some examples of that. I know, people do a lot of podcasts. People just get on social media and talk. Is that where they're getting the audio from, or?
Yeah. So you mentioned the example of grandchildren, right? So, and if you think about it, a lot of our younger generation live their lives online. So you have your TikToks and you have your Instagram and whatnot. So everyone's doing a live. So it is not unreasonable to find something like that. And one of my other interests is also in user privacy. And the sad fact is that because everything is so systematic, it's so very easy to find out, hey, this person lives at this address. This is their phone number. Mm-hmm. These are their kids. This is their age. So all this is sort of more or less public data, because there's so many public records and there's services online that collate all this information and keep it together.
It's almost impossible to be private.
Yeah. So, and if you keep that, so this is in social engineering, like we call this some kind of a prerequisite step that's done before you start to do a scam. So I forget the word, but you need, and that kind of a process can be done very easily now with these kind of services, because you pop in somebody's name and it gives you the address, their relatives' names, their ages, and you take the the relative's name, which could be a grandchild, and then try on social media, and you get their audio, text, audio. You'll even get a video, and that is really the problem. Yeah.
Okay. And following that, and this is really a question for everybody on the panel, how can a senior possibly spot a fake? What's the giveaway that this is not really my grandchild or who I think it is on the other end of the line? Lieutenant Chenier?
I think one of the things that I've read and probably seen about is even though it may sound like the person, if you listen to enough, they won't have the same tone. The same emotion may be lacking from it. A lot of things I've seen is the person is not breathing or taking any breaths. You don't hear any respiratory sound, anything like that. And also, like I said, the scammers, they maybe just simply targeted to certain limited questions or statements that they can make. So if you tend to go off script or outside what they're trying to get, they can't follow. Like I said, if it's a grandparent type scam like that, the AI generated voice might not have the emotion of what you think someone who's in jail or in that predicament might be relaying. Mm-hmm. So, some things to think about and pay attention to.
I'll piggyback off of that. I think maybe a call, it may sound real, but it may have this robotic sound to it, a robotic feeling to it. The request may be too urgent to be real. They may be requesting, I urgently need you to send money on Cash App. So these are things to look for to spot a fake. This is too urgent. This sounds a little bit robotic. The answers are coming too quickly, or the conversation is going too swiftly. That's huge red flags right there.
And as a senior, as someone who might be a little confused down the road anyway and not thinking clearly, it's easy to get confused like that. Should you always have maybe a question in the back of your mind? If this were to happen to you, that would be more personal to the person on the other, or to whoever's on the other end of the line? Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, I've seen like when those calls like that, another thing to keep in mind too is if the person who's calling you trying to get you to send money or do some withdrawal money normally wouldn't call you that way or be that person to ask you for money, that should be a red flag. Another thing is if there's urgency in their voice, they're trying to get you to do it, trying to hurry get you, or they bring up, you can't tell anyone and they won't let you off the phone until the transaction is complete, that should give you pause to think, okay, wait a minute, I understand it's my grandson or granddaughter, they don't want their parents to know, but at the same time, it's like, why won't they let me off the phone? I need to call some other people. And they're just so overly insistent that, they don't want to give you time to think, because if you have time to think, well, then you can think about, okay, this isn't right. Mm-hmm. And it breaks the control they have over you. So again, like I said, when they're trying to dominate the phone conversation and won't let you off the phone, again, that should throw up some flags for you.
Okay, Dr. Vadrevu, who has this technology? Is it just major criminal rings, or are these AI tools now available to really any low-level scammer?
No, that's very well democratized, I would believe. Pretty much anyone, me included, can very easily get access to this. Because there's some other use cases for this, like if benign companies would want to build call centers and building call centers, like having call centers that are completely human operated are a huge cost. So they would want to save on cost. So there are technology companies developing technologies to make human sounding voices. So there's a lot of, good use cases for this. And so the technology is available for everyone to use. And as and when it can be done for negative purposes too. And it should not, there's no difficulty for anyone to get access to it.
Okay. And how would you say seniors can spot a fake?
So I wanted to just add on a complimentary angle here, saying that, going back, for example, the email thing, right? So for a long time, there was this notion that criminals would make mistakes in spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes in the messages. Now that has gone away. Again, like I'm very worried about certain signals in the audio that could give away, because technology is changing so rapidly right now that we spend so much energy in training people, hey, look for that. But that might be overcome by technology very soon. And then that becomes a problem for us. Because then we have to give an opposite message to the people saying, hey, don't listen to that, listen to this. So that is a problem. But that said, in general, another angle to add here is that not only is the voice going to sound similar, the unfortunate problem with conventional telephony networks is that spoofing is a very real thing. Mm-hmm. So right now, I know of a few services by which I can call so that, I can impersonate your colleague's phone number and you'll receive a call. It'll even show your colleague's name there, but I'm the one calling because this is just spoofing. I can spoof anyone's phone number and just give it a call. So, the government has been trying to make this illegal for a while now, but it's a very hard practical problem. So this is a real thing. And now imagine this, a senior receiving a call from what says is her grandson's name and then lifts and sounds like sort of her like grandson's voice. That becomes very difficult. One thing, if we could spread awareness on, is to hang up and then call back again. Because like when you initiate the call, that goes away. Because then you're not going to talk to the scammer. It's a really hard thing to spread this message because the scammers know this. And what they're going to say immediately is, please don't hang up. I'm in a very difficult situation. It's really, really difficult for that person to hang up on that person whom she believes is her relative, asking her not to hang up. So that becomes a very difficult choice. But if you could somehow spread this awareness, just hang up and call back and try again. That happens the same, not just in this case, even right now it's happening. They make it sound like the Baton Rouge Police Department is calling them. Don't hang up, stay on call and transfer us money, right? So hang up and then call again. That's all. So if you could teach them to hang up, if you could spread this awareness, I think that would be great. Another kind of interesting idea I've heard of, especially in this realm of fake AI based scams, is to have a safe word that, so some kind of a password in your family. This could be a problem with the elderly population with dementia, maybe, but they could have it written down somewhere, right? So if they are suspicious something happens, maybe just say, hey, what's the safe word for our family? And the other person says, then that's good. So yeah. But then again, what if the safe word gets leaked? But I guess
exactly. But you do bring up a good point. It's great to have, but in an elderly person's case who has dementia, they're probably not going to remember the safe word, and they may not remember where they wrote it down to find it. And so it does get complicated, and then emotions take over. And like you said, it's really hard to hang up. But that is a good message, absolutely, to put out. Lieutenant Chenier, when someone reports an AI scam, how do you investigate it? Is it different than a normal fraud case? I would think that it probably is.
Not really, because the AI is just another tool for them to present the scam. But the basic of the scam are still present. Number one is they're trying to steal your money. So one part of our investigation focuses on basically following the money. Where did the money go? Where did it come out of the system? And whose hands did it end up in? And then the second part of our investigation focuses on the source of the communication and the contact. Where did it come from? Even though they're doing, AI over the phone or AI over social media or anything like that, they're still using phone services. They're still using the internet. They're still using social media. So all those are avenues that we can attempt to backtrack and find the perpetrator.
And there's still a person behind all of this.
There's still somebody behind
or
it.
More than one person behind it all. Okay, Dr. Special Agent Perinon, how does the FBI work with the sheriff's office? When does a local AI fraud case actually go federal? What are the requirements for that?
Well, FBI, we have this ongoing partnership with the local agencies, the sheriff's office, and other entities. In regards to investigating AI fraud, elderly fraud, it depends on the caseload and how large the case is and what resources we have available. So the sheriff's office may have expertise that we can work with, and we'll reach out to them depending on the case and work alongside them. And I think it's vice versa. Yeah. If they need our expertise, they'll also reach out to us. So there's not anything specifically to say, well, local case would go federal or federal case goes local. It all depends on our resources and how we would work together to investigate and solve that actual fraud or that scheme.
And does it matter where the cases originate from? I mean, where do most of these originate from? Are they international, or are they local? Are they nationwide, or do you know?
Unfortunately, it's a combination of the two. I would say the majority of them originate overseas or internationally, but those parties typically tend to find and recruit individuals here or bring people over here to help facilitate. Let's say, if the movement of money is physical, well, they need runners and couriers to come pick up the money from the elderly person and move it. So again, you can have a scammer in another country, but they recruited someone here locally. So it's a two-part crime.
Yeah.
And
And
how
at
do you
this
get to scammers in other countries?
At this point, it's global. You'll find scammers right here in the U.S. who's connected with scammers in China. Like he said, they work together. They're recruiting individuals. If you tap into IC3, the Internet Complaint Center, you'll see all the research and surveys that show a lot of scams do occur overseas, but also here in the United States. And a lot of it, they're call center text scams. There are a lot of centers overseas. However, they're working alongside individuals here in the U.S. So at this point, AI, elder scam in general, it's global with AI included, of course.
Okay. This question for all of the panelists: what are the new red flags for AI scams, and what's different now? So let's start with you, Dr. Vadrevu.
Yeah, I really can't answer that. I believe.
I can
because
jump
the technology. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I think it goes like what you said earlier. Back then, scammers were kind of sloppy. Emails will have misspelled words. Now, I think we spoke about it earlier. It's polished. It's perfect. They know everything about you. They've done their research. They've looked on the internet and connected dots to see who you're related to and any other individuals, your email addresses. So my overall answer is it's polished. Back then, like I said, it was not perfect. You can tell. You get an email saying you won $6 million because you're related to the Queen of London, and you're like, okay, no. But now they know who your cousins are, your daughters, your grandparents. So it goes back to a lot of what you were saying earlier. I think you answered it in an earlier question as well.
Are there any new red flags though for AI scams?
Some of the ones I've seen actually here recently is, during COVID, a lot of things moved towards online applications and doing everything online. A lot of stuff we saw involved, unemployment everybody was applying for unemployment online. That opened the door to identity theft being used to apply for unemployment. And a way that they began dealing with that is when you start submitting your application for unemployment, they made you include a copy of your driver's license. Well, of course, you can counterfeit a driver's license. Well, so then they start doing, the new thing now is they do selfie checks. Basically, you take a picture with your driver's license. Well, now here comes AI. So now guess what you can do? Now you can generate not only the driver's license with AI, but you can generate an image of the person off of social media to go along with the application. So, like I say, it's not only refining the old scams and making them new, but AI is also, allowing your more low-tech, unsophisticated scammers to step up their game and not have to go out and find somebody to help them do it. They can just reach out, get on AI, and improve themselves.
It is scary. You don't know what's real and what's not, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, I guess, yeah. And that's what that's what I meant by saying I don't know how to answer it, because there are no red flags that would be obvious. And what were thought of as green flags before might not be green flags. That's what I want to say, because language is perfect. That does not mean it's the real person, right? So, it's sounding like your grandchild, but it need not be your grandchild. So I guess maybe one thing that still works well from as far as what I've seen in my sort of scammer research is that scammers have some stories that work. And it's always good to spread that message because they try to reuse those stories across multiple victims. So one story could be someone sounding like your grandchild saying that they've been kidnapped. So if you could just spread awareness on that, then the story itself could be a red flag. So because if they hear that story, that means that's an unlikely incident. So maybe try to approach them through another channel, maybe call their friend and see if they're in the class or whatever, because those could be the things. So now maybe the characteristics of the voice or the grammar, these might not be red flags, but the story itself is something that the criminals know it works, and they tend to, perfect it over few years and then use it across a lot of people. And so if we could spread awareness about, hey, this is a campaign going on, and then if the recipients know that, then they know, okay, this is a red flag. So they could still be red flags like that, I believe.
Okay, good point. Lieutenant Chenier, if you've been scammed or even targeted, what is the first call you should make? And let me say this, a lot of people are really embarrassed to report that they've been scammed. So how do you get over that embarrassment of reporting?
The first thing they should do is, number one, is how you say it, is not be embarrassed and realize, that just because it happened to you, that mean you did anything wrong, you weren't at fault. There have been, I can honestly tell you, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. It affects everybody across the board, from the youngest person to the oldest person to the most educated person, the most professional person, to even my law enforcement counterparts, people have fallen victim to scam. So there's no reason to feel embarrassed about it, because and the worst thing you can do is be embarrassed and not tell anyone, not report it, and try to hide it, because all you're really doing in that aspect is giving the scammer more time to further distance himself, move the money quicker, continue to perpetuate the crime on other people, because no one knows about it. So yeah, definitely report it, talk about it, share your experience with other people. There's nothing better than someone hearing from someone else who was victimized or taken advantage of through a scam, because it makes it more real to that person. And now, not only will that person now be aware of it, they'll understand, and it'll stick more, because, hey, when they hear the scam, like I said, they typically use the same scenario on the stories when they call in. And we've gotten calls before from people like, hey, I just want to let you know there's a scam going around. My friend got scammed. When I heard the phone call, they started with that same story. I immediately recognized it because I've already heard it and was aware of it. I didn't fall for it. I'm letting you know. And like, if you can pass the word, spread the word is the best thing. As far as what's the first thing you should do once you've been scammed, is immediately call your financial institution, your bank, your credit card company, whatever payment service that you were using that was compromised, to stop. If you can stop the activity, stop it, or at least prevent any further activity from taking place, and get with your bank and all that, and change your passwords, change your account numbers to prevent any further activity from taking place.
And in terms of law enforcement, who do you call first?
That all depends on where you're at. Again, wherever your local law enforcement, if you're inside the city, after you call BRPD, you live outside the city, you call the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office. If you're not sure, I would typically say, if you dial 911, who would show up? That's who you need to call. And if you don't know, you can always just call the sheriff's office, and we'll either assist you or direct you to where you need to go.
Okay. Special Agent Perinon, tell me about this IC3 complaint center. I heard you mention that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
What exactly is that? And why should everybody file a report, even if the money's already gone?
So the IC3 is the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. www.ic3.gov. If you have a loss from a scam, you can go on that website and report that financial loss. You can also report cyber scams as well. We do encourage you to report that, even if you believe that the money's already gone, because maybe we may be able to recover it depending on the time frame. And you may also be contributing to the bigger picture. You may be adding a piece to the puzzle. We may have an open investigation on a particular subject or a particular pattern, and that may be what we need to close out that case. And potential victims, you may help out a potential victim. So again, ic3.gov. If you need to make any complaints of financial loss due to a scam, please report it there, no matter if the money is gone or not.
Okay. Dr. Vadrevu, what is the single most important piece of advice that you would give to caregivers who are watching today?
That would be spreading the awareness about these kind of scams. Tell them about certain situations. Ask your elderly to sort of like get back to you. Tell them that you are a resource that they can rely on when they are in doubt. And also tell them that maybe they need to call you back instead of believing what's in the channel, even if they believe that's you, right? So spreading this awareness could be very, very useful, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Lieutenant Chenier, what would you say should be the conversation that people should have with their parents tonight?
Open the door and have the conversation about the different scams that are out there. We always talk about, having this conversation with your kids about stranger danger and things like that. And you don't really think you should need to have that similar conversation with your parents, with your grandparents. Like I said, again, awareness, talking through them, talking about them, being involved in your parents' activity. If you have parents who, spend a lot of time online, they're on social media, talk to them about it. Talk to them about the danger. Explain to them that not everyone you talk to online is who are they claim to be. There are scammers out there. I often tell people, it's hard to tell, an elderly person. You don't always have to answer the phone if you don't know who's calling. That's what you have voicemail for. Mm-hmm. Because what that does is that gives that break between the scammer getting you on the line and keeping you online, as opposed to you can look at the message and go, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Let me call somebody and verify. So there's nothing wrong with not answering the phone. Yeah.
What is your most important piece of advice for caregivers?
Again, I would say stay involved in their digital world, in the elders' digital world and financial world. I also say have hard conversation, not to create fear, but to create an understanding and to bring awareness. I know a lot of times elders may suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's, but the constant staying involved is what's going to help. And like someone mentioned earlier, creating maybe a safe word, a password, or a code. If this person does not know our code, please hang up and call us, or call a family member, or come and talk to us about any urgent matters that may appear in your email or on a phone call. So staying involved digitally and financially, not just medically.
Okay. Just keep a close eye out.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. How are you preparing for the next 5 years? Dr. Vadrevu, where is this technology heading?
So this one's maybe a positive side. Like I said, we are one of my research directions is on tech support scams that you mentioned, where we are trying to use AI to talk to scammers. It's the other way around.
Oh.
And the idea there is to basically waste their time. Because what we do know now is as the technology exists right now, the scammers are not the AI is not at a stage where it can drive the entire conversation. It needs human involvement because there are a lot of subtle tricks that they need to play to get the people to, once they get them on phone, to install malware or have the scammer access their computer. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the conversation needs to happen. So what we are trying to do is use AI to our advantage to sort of waste their time. And we are trying to collaborate with agencies like you all to basically develop a tool that these agencies can use where, you just turn it on and it starts making calls to the scammers and drives the conversation to an extent where we can actually get intelligence about, how scammers are operating, their money launderers in the country or something like that. Anyway, this is the research direction we're opening and hoping that these things also give us some insights into how these conversations go. Because one big problem, and like she mentioned, is we don't have data about how these scams go. A lot of the time, once a scam happens, people are embarrassed to say it, or people don't really have recollection of exact tactics done by the scammer. So from a research point of view, we have no data at all on these scams, except for the IC3 reports that tell us billions are being lost. We know billions are being lost, but we don't know how. So we're hoping this tool can also help us get that sort of data.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Kind of staying one step ahead of the scammers. We're trying to get one step ahead. All right. Special Agent Perinon and Lieutenant Chenier, how is law enforcement adapting, I guess, to try to catch up to all of this? It's just moving so fast.
It is, and it does. And pretty much what we do is as the new tactics, new schemes come out and become aware, we address them, we recognize them, and we go, okay, is this just something old, turn new? Do we have the resources, technology to address it? And if we don't, then of course we get with the federal agencies, and now we've been coordinating with private entities who are more tech savvy than we could tend to be, and reaching out to the resources so that we can be better prepared to address with the current situations and hopefully get ahead of the curve and do something preventive.
Yeah. I think it goes back to collaboration and protecting innovation in our ends and learning as we go along with AI. We're trying to stay ahead of AI, but like you said, sometimes these technological advances are moving way too fast. And what the FBI has been doing is training our agents and professional staff as new AI technological resources advance. We're training to see how these work and how we can partner with other law enforcement entities to learn more about the new schemes and scams. Where FBI is also aggressively recruiting individuals in the areas of computer science, data analyst, or anyone who can help us stay ahead of the technological advances that we're facing.
I would think the generations coming up now
Yeah,
would be perfectly
it's gonna
suited.
be perfect. Yes,
Yes. Well, thank you all so much. Thanks to our panelists, and thank you so much for watching. AI scams are definitely getting smarter, but a quick pause, a second phone call, maybe even a safe word, just reporting anything suspicious is going to stop them in their tracks, hopefully. So have a simple conversation tonight with your parents, with your seniors in your life. It can truly prevent a crisis at this point. For the Advocate and AARP, I'm Kim Holden. Stay safe and